Recording in progress.
There I am, guys. Don't worry, you don't have to look at me twice. You're gonna look. Oh, sorry. Oh. Back and forth. You guys, I made my, no camera on you that you can see. All right. If we had time, I will show you guys the video I made last night of me putting people on my hip. Finally sent that in just 4 days late.
Yeah.
I don't know if Deborah knew what to do with it, but that's okay. I got 40 under 40 and it's a hidden talent theme.
I saw that. I said congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hidden talent. My hidden talent is putting adults on my hip. So here we are. And on that note, I'd love to carry you also through the real estate investing journey. Oh, okay. So this is our first time teaching this version of the class. We've partnered with Nicole Ruth in the past, who does a lot of the invest lending talk. And I think that that's super important. I think tactically speaking, it's two different conversations. There's like the logistics of investing from the real estate side, and then there's also the lending side of it. And so I wanted to get a more tactical take on it to really talk about what the options are and what I'm talking about with individuals down to go over like, here's what your options are. Now let's back into them. So that's what this class is. It's going to go through the how, what, why, when, where type of deal of this so that you can understand real estate investing really from a more global perspective. And then we're going to help you figure out your own goals and then hone in on those and what that's going to take to do. So we won't figure out all the answers tonight, but that is the class. So that was me combining a lot of different information through the years that I've taught. So welcome. And any typos or mistakes you see, please put them in the chat for Tracy. Same with questions for those of you that are watching from home. So thank you so much. So we'll start with why invest in real estate. I feel like I talk about this a lot if you've been to the courses before, or if you have to hang out with me, especially if I start drinking. Investing in real estate has proven to be an incredible way to build long-term wealth. 90% of millionaires and billionaires have created their wealth through real estate, at least a portion of it, right? When you think about how the majority of wealthy people have created wealth, it's not by creating Facebook, right? Those are your one-offs. Don't be a Zuckerberg, right? In so many ways. You can be, just a run-of-the-mill millionaire who builds wealth through real estate. And so it is really the most tried and true way to build wealth. I also find it to be a way to live your life still while planning for tomorrow. So you're not necessarily, I see people trying to oversave if you're just saving money into accounts. Instead, we're talking about investing money into an investment that's going to help you grow that. And so that is really a part of it. So working with a financial advisor on all of that. If we want to get tactical on why, right? It's the 4 pillars. And that's why real estate investing is the best for wealth generation. And please understand, our tax code is currently and has always been built to benefit landowners. We aren't going to go too far back with our past as a country, because that's a different class. But because of that, that is why it's so beneficial. It's not by accident. The system's working the way that it was built to work. And so I say, why don't the rest of us who are working Americans leverage that as well, right? So you're going to have appreciation. I feel like we talk about appreciation pretty casually in America, talking about homes. That's a pretty easy one to figure out. Homes are appreciating. The stat that DMAR decided to throw out today was we had 2 years of appreciation in 2 months or something. Did you see that one? Yeah, that doesn't help with the current frenzy. But we've seen double-digit appreciation for the last 6-7 years in the Denver metro area. Will it slow down? We can, again, talk about that extensively. Ultimately, Denver is going to continue to have a housing shortage because it is such a high demand area. And Denver as a city is continuing to attract industries that pay people well. And so there goes our prices, right? So, but nationwide, so that's Denver, right? I know the Denver market. I can see stats here, Colorado. I know some other markets decently well. But if you look at the historic nationwide annual appreciation since 1891, which is when they first started tracking this, it was at 3.2%. So that's where it averages out at. So if you think about it that way, it is slowly appreciating. That's why there's 30-year loans, right? The idea is that you're getting into a home and you're paying on it for a longer period of time and you're enjoying that appreciation. And the biggest piece for that is that you're getting the appreciation on the full asset, not just on what you're putting as the down payment. And so that's why when somebody comes to me, and I have friends who, have money in stock or whatever it is, it's like, what do I do with this 50,000? Should I add it into this? Should I also put it into the stock? Because I had, whatever stock options or whatever you people do at these tech companies. What do you guys do with those things? You just like metaverse mainly. So anyways, if you take that 50,000 and you put it into a $200,000, $250,000 investment property, you're going to see the 3.2% at a minimum, right? Appreciation over the 250,000, not on your 50,000. And so that's always something to take into account. Additionally, you could be having cash flow from it, right? Which is the rent income minus all of the expenses. We have, there's a typo, repairs. We have, different ways we can analyze this. And I always tell people, you can have 2 priorities. You can want appreciation and cash flow, but you need to have one prioritized over the other. And that depends a lot on what your goals are, where you're at in your life, when you want to retire, et cetera. And so that's the other piece of, one of the other pillars. And then equity, if you put 25% down, your tenant is going to be paying down more of that loan while the property is appreciating. And so you're gaining more and more equity. You can then leverage that equity to buy more properties and continue doing this. That said, I'm a true believer that we need to buy what we need and not try and buy as many things as possible. Oh, I just saw a good quote about Dolly Parton. So maybe I'll make myself the Dolly Parton of real estate investing, which is like, just get what you need and then give the rest away, you know? So I think that there's people that kind of get into the mode of like, how many properties can I get? And I'm more of like, what do I need in order to be able to live the lifestyle I want? To be able to live. And obviously as an entrepreneur, I don't have a traditional 401k. So for us, it's always been in real estate. So the equity piece is getting, it's continuing to grow as the home values go up. Let's say we're not going to have a bubble, and we can talk about that in the Q&A if we really want to. But let's say we have a recession that causes a depreciation in home values again. You only lose money on a home if you have to sell it. When we look at what happened with the Denver market, even in the Great Recession, where we had really bad lending standards, low ones, standards were lower in our 20s. I remember. So Jenny's here, and she worked with mortgage brokers at the time, selling them advertising. Altus. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was crazy, like what they would approve you for and the balloons and like all the things. So anyways, that's what caused the housing bubble. But let's say that we do depreciate a little bit. Ultimately, we're not going to have foreclosures because everyone's cash heavy. The average equity in a home right now is 40% nationwide. That's insane. That's an insane amount of cash. It's an insane amount of equity. And then worst case, you're selling it potentially for a loss, but we can talk through all of that. Ultimately, you're going to want to hold on to it. Even the worst recession that we've seen as far as housing prices declining across the country, we were back out of it, even in the worst markets, within 8 years. So ultimately, and if it's a rental, people were still paying the rental rates. So it was a matter of just being able to hold on, right? Because again, going back to that 3.2, ultimately it's going to continue on this slow and steady rise. As mentioned, the tax code is written in favor of real estate investors, and the most recent changes that were made to the tax code during 45, thou shall not be named, were beneficial for property investors, real estate investors. And so we're just continuing to see those. And so long as we continue down our current path with elected officials, with the Senate, again, different conversation, but it's always going to favor real estate investors. And no matter what, I don't see that there ever being a tax code that undoes it completely, right? So you get to take deductions. And then the biggest thing that you can leverage, especially if you're in a place in your life where you're still working and you're, at like kind of a higher income part of your life, your 30s, 40s, 50s, you can be depreciating that property, which is really helpful in your tax burden. And then you would be paying taxes on the cash flow when you're retired and not necessarily grossing or netting the same amount of money you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s. So that's a long-term thing. And most of all, call a professional. I am not an accountant, but I know really great ones. And I can help you ask the right questions. And that's what I always tell people. But yeah, those are the 4 pillars of why, financially speaking, it just makes sense. And there's no other investment out there. And I know that, we joke like it's an inside deal. I'm in real estate, right? But I'm not here teaching you this because I want to make money off of your investments. This is because I think we all as Americans need to leverage these things. And so that's what I'm here to do. On this, who is hearing about inflation? Oh my gosh, it is like all the rage with the everyone wanting to which headline's going to get the most clicks, like all the things, right? Inflation. Inflation is basically the value of the dollar going down, right? So if your money is sitting in a bank, then the value of that dollar is going down. Inflation has the opposite effect on housing. So if you have a rental rates are going up. And if you own a property, the property values are going up. Will inflation eventually affect affordability? Potentially. And that'll be, time will tell on that. Again, I think if anything, it's going to slow. Speaking again to Denver specifically, maybe we wouldn't be at 18% appreciation year over year again. We'd be at 12. So it's not going to make or break anybody who owns here. But the absolute best way to combat inflation is by locking in a fixed price on an appreciating asset. And literally the only way you can do that is through real estate. Cars have started appreciating, which is very weird, but that will be rare. That as soon as we get caught up on the chips, technology stuff. So yeah, and I have heard this a million different ways from a ton of different economists that don't have a stake necessarily in the real estate game, although most economists are investors also. But it is the resounding, like that's how you fight inflation. So as inflation goes up and values rise, your loan to values percentage is going to decrease. Your fixed price is obviously going to stay the same. And the lower your loan to the value, the more equity you have, and then you can spend it. And then when you own residential properties versus commercial, you can adjust the rent annually up or down, right? So we can follow the trends. You're not locking somebody in to a 20-year lease because they're doing a restaurant build out, right? So it really gives you that option. And then planning for retirement, today's dollar, if you can use today's dollar, you don't have to worry about projecting it too much because those same projections are going to apply to rental rates. And so that is what's nice about it is it's like, if I know I need $10,000 in today's dollars, then I need to know that I'm going to be able to net $10,000 in my rental investments in today's dollars, and they'll just project along at the same rate. Because if if rental rates go up 20%, probably the cost of wine will too, right? If you think about it that way. Okay, any questions about real estate? Anything come in as an investment? Okay, here. Okay, so who should invest in real estate? You guys, it's you. It's everyone. It's fucking everyone. So retirement, 96% of Americans are not in a place to retire on their assets at the time of retirement. 96%. It's crazy. It's detrimental. It's alarming. And so that is why we do this, is to make people, even if you don't end up doing it through real estate, starting the conversation with a financial planner to figure out what you need to do so that you can be in a place. The fact is we're living longer, for better or worse in some cases. We're living longer and we're working harder. And I think we're also burning out. We have this new generation coming in that's going, I don't want to have to work all the time anymore. I don't want to work 24/7, which has been really refreshing. We're now in an employees market. What's that going to do for employers? This is going to be fun, right? I mean, there's a lot of changes happening, and part of that's going to be planning for retirement. Again, not to get political, but you can't not when you talk about housing, also because we can. I think that a big piece of what motivated me to share my story is I bought my first home when I was a 22-year-old woman, still a woman, just older, but I didn't really even realize at the time because we were 22 and dumb, and Jenny was buying a condo and I was following her and doing it because we had the same job. So I was keeping up with the Jennies, but I wouldn't have even had that opportunity. I mean, that was in 2005. It wasn't that long ago that I couldn't even get my own credit card, right? As a woman without my dad or a husband signing on it. No wonder women got married so early. They couldn't do anything, right? So fair housing in 1968 prohibits the discrimination. It's legal now, right? And there's been some added with handicap and familial status as well. Are there still violations every single day? Yes. Are the majority of those violations actually against people with handicaps? Yes, which is interesting, but it's also all across the board. And so while it's not being executed perfectly, we do have the right. So let's exercise it. Yeah. And then, to honor like RBG, MLK, John Lewis, like they didn't work so hard so that we could just like continue to not be in charge. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the share of U.S. wealth held by race. White people have 86% of wealth, and we make up I'm white, 6%, 60% of the population, right? The wealth is only diversifying because we're having more people enter the game. And that is my goal, is to make sure that everyone has access to the same information so that they feel empowered and educated to do so. So much of the reason that white people own 86% of wealth is because of everything that was happening, still happens, but especially before 1968, right? And so when you own that much land, if you start looking at numbers of rural land, Like people of color own less than 1% of farmland in America. That's crazy when you think about the distribution of wealth. And so my thought is, if I go to, we all know I can dwell on the past, but my goal moving is just to make sure everyone knows what they can be doing so that they can make their own decisions. Home ownership rates by race, also you can see white non-Hispanic is highest, Black families are lowest. We saw a big decrease there with the Great Recession. And there's a lot of things tied to that as well. And so there's some great initiatives out there. 3 by 30 is 3 million net new Black homeowners by 2030. So there's some great initiatives out there. This isn't going to be a government's not going to fix any of this. We're going to have to rely, but the whole goal is to make sure that we're educating everyone equally on it. And my goal, and we're teaching this class next week, is home ownership, not if, but when. And so it's a matter of like getting everyone into the mindset that I can own a home, no matter what their situation is. So empower all to create financial freedom through investing in real estate by providing customized investment plans based on your lifestyle and wealth I always say I can never say it. Why is it in my mission? Accumulation goals. So we do monthly, I did it. And we also do monthly just lunch and learns of real people, real stories, real success about investors. And so it's your investors next door that are creating similar to what my husband and I have done, portfolios for them that are allowing them to have a retirement option or just live whatever life they want to live, right? Maybe they want to work forever. Obviously, our core values, integrity is everything. Honest and transparency is always my number one. One size does not fit all. I get a little bit perturbed with the companies that sell you a class that's going to teach you, you know what I mean? It's just $6,000. Put it on, looking at you, Jen Shaw from Salt Lake, her victims. But yeah, $6,000, put it on your credit card and we're going to make you a millionaire. No. All this information is out there. It's free. And there's not one plan that works. You don't need to BRRRR. You don't need to cap rate. You don't even, I'm looking only at my cash on cash basis. Like all these things that people say to keep you out of the game. I'm anti that. One size does not fit all. It doesn't need to be so complicated. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? And then safe housing for all. My expectation is if I'm helping folks buy in Denver and they're going to turn that into a rental property, that they're also, keeping the housing at a level that the tenants deserve, that is safe and healthy. And then, we work really hard to stay within market, but not price gouge. What and where? So investing options. I think that a big piece of where we can get confused is there are so many options. When you talk about real estate investing, again, it's not a one size fits all. And so really there's tons of different options. So if you don't own a home yet, you have options to jump in as a real estate investor. You could buy a house and rent out the rooms, right? And house hack it. And then eventually move on and do whatever you want with that property. House hacking was easier when homes is easier in areas where the median home price is a little bit lower. You can buy a multifamily and live in one. We're going to talk about the financing piece of that, up to 4 units. Actually, the dollar signs denote that those are investment properties, guys. Gotcha. You could actually buy an investment home first. There are some people, and I know Dan, who I think is on this call, has worked with clients who really love that like downtown apartment amenity life. And so they actually just have an investment somewhere else and they're going to keep living that rental life because they don't want to deal with it. And they have their investments and that's good for them. So again, there's all the options, right? I say buy your home first. That's always my goal is can you stabilize your monthly housing costs by buying your own home? And we'll start there. And once you have your own home, your piece of the pie, it doesn't need to be perfect. Then we can start building from it, right? So if you own your home, you can sell it or you can keep it. And this just kind of goes through your options. So you could upgrade your current home and buy an out-of-state rental. Alicia, who we interviewed yesterday, lives in Salt Lake and she is buying single family homes in Fort Wayne, Indiana that cash flow $500 a door for $220. So thinking I think is really important. New York City is a great cost effective. No, actually it is on a turn, right?
Oh, for investment?
Yeah.
Not at my level. I mean,
Yeah. New York's still very expensive,
Very,
but it's
very.
on a downturn, right? They haven't recovered.
I mean, that's a tough one to
Yeah.
answer. I don't think they're on a downturn, but they're not like,
Not
increasing
here,
like
yeah.
Denver is.
I just remember when Brian Serhant came to this thing here, he said that their days on market was like 300 something. Do you remember him saying that? I was like, you have a year to, yeah, you have a year to market a property. We have like 47 seconds. So when he's like, do video, I'm like, we're trying, but like they can only turn around so fast.
Right.
But no, I think there's a lot of, and Alicia talking specifically about Fort Wayne, her appeal was, a lot of the people that work there work at the hospital system. So they actually move a lot. So they're renting. And she's buying single family homes, 3-2s. And, her goals are associated with her husband retiring from his salary job. She's in real estate and figuring theirs out from there. But again, it comes back to how their goals were created. And then you can create your rules from that. You can house hack your home and travel. So people will rent out their home. That's not something I am overly comfortable with. You have to be willing to like rent your own space. But we're investing in the mountains and we're planning to rent that out. So we would use it some and then also have people, we'd have our owner's closet. I don't have anxiety at all about that. Keep yours and buy a new one, right? So you just turn the one you're in into a rental property and you buy another. That's a lot. I call it leapfrogging. It's the easiest way to add properties with the lowest down payments. And we're going to talk about that as well. You could upgrade your home and buy a rental. I have clients I'm helping do that right now. There's so much equity in the home. It's like, let's sell that because that house is really good for an owner occupant. And like, I don't know, I should start giving people like major high fives when they actually decide to sell. But my goal is always, we're not taking the equity and going on a trip, right? We're going to buy another house. We're going to buy an investment. We're going to mix it up a little bit. Maybe we're going to buy in the mountains, keep your house, buy in the mountains, keep yours, buy a triplex, live in one unit. If I could do it all over again at 21, 2, 1, whatever. I would have bought a multi-unit and compromised on location for a year as I had signed to live in it per my FHA loan, where I bought 3.5% down, lived in a unit, managed the other 2, and then gone on to buy where I actually wanted to live. Right. So those are some options that you have if you have your own place, and other options we talked through along the way too. If you have an investment property, you can move your equity around. Again, there is a way to avoid paying capital gains taxes so long as you've lived in the home 2 of the last 5 years. So I'm always doing the 3-year check, the 2.5 year check with any of my clients that have turned their homes into an investment. Hey, you can take your money and not have to pay cap gains on it now. Otherwise, you're doing a 1031 exchange. I feel like all the tax reform has been halted. I've also turned off the daily because stuff's happening. So maybe I'm wrong, but I do think we're still good, right? Yeah. And even if tax reform gets pushed through again, it's looking like it's not going to affect anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year net. So when we talk about the working American and how we're using our income, they're going to still be able to use the 1031 exchange and shelter yourselves from taxes. We actually did a 1031 exchange last year and exchanged a single family home that I thought would just be really great for owner occupants. And we turned it into a quadplex. So I try to try things before I buy them or tell you to buy them. And it really, you have a 1031 exchange specialist, and it really wasn't too hard. We found the property off market. And it allowed us to really minimize our risk because all of a sudden we were able to, have worker housing. It's $1,300 a month is the rent for 2 bedrooms. And so it just diversified. It's 4 doors instead of 1 that we were really needing to get $3,000 a month on. And then obviously that's a big part of our retirement, was part of the big plan. I think we're going to sell another one this year. I honestly just feel in this market, when you hold on, like I'm holding on to one more home that would be a really great owner occupant home. And I have guilt, total guilt, because there's buyers who need houses. So, and then also from an like once you pull the numbers, if you're switching from appreciation rates and looking more at like a cash flow option and the long-term hold of it all, it can really make sense. So You can invest in a second home. I just was talking with a girlfriend in real estate about how she wants to buy a place in Mexico. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I will buy places here and then use that money to go on trips other places. But I do know people invest internationally all the time. And it's just all about the same thing here. Find a local expert and leverage that relationship. One day I was on Canva and I just did this with all these cute things on here and I still don't really know why, but there's the places you could buy in. Yeah. There's Airbnb, you know, short-term versus long-term or some options too. We can go down a heck of a rabbit hole with that. And I don't have the time for that now. If we want to go into it in questions and answers, please let me know. But with second homes, that's definitely an option. Any questions? Okay, just keep going. Let's talk lending, the necessary part. So if you are buying as an owner occupant, you can put 3%, 5%, you can even put 0% down if you have access to a VA loan, or there's a couple of credit unions that offer that. There's grants you can use. So really your least cash down is going to be for you to make the move, or buy your first, right? Now, when we're looking at options for that, you can go up to a 4-unit with the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac government-backed products. And then you can count the other units rent towards your debt to income ratio, which can help you buy a property that you wouldn't be able to buy on your own. So let's say it's a triplex and it's deeded as 3 different units and it's 900,000, but you're able to count the appraised rent value of 2 of those units towards your debt to income, then you're really only paying for a $300,000 home. And there's not as much competition with multi-units. There's also not as many out there, but we are seeing a lot of investors trading properties right now because of the potential changes with 1031 exchanges. So it's a good time to try and get something off market if that's a step you're willing and wanting to take. Anything that's going to be an owner occupant, you have to move into within 60 days. I do know of a product with First Bank I was just talking to a client about, where if a tenant is in place for longer than that, so let's say the tenant has the rights to stay for 6 months, but someone wants to buy it and eventually occupy it, the First Bank has a portfolio product that they can do for that. You pay a little bit more in interest rate, but it can make sense at times. It really makes sense. Actually, the reason I learned about it is from Mandy, because she bought a model home. And so if you're buying a model home, you have to have it leased back, right? But you're not buying it as an investment. You're buying it because you want to move into it. And so it's been a good property or a good option for that. Otherwise, if it's Fannie Freddie backed, you have to do the 60 days of closing. Second home, you're putting a minimum of 10% down. You do get to take advantage of the primary home rates, the interest rates, which is awesome. And it must make sense as a second home, which is objective for FHA loans. So if you have an FHA loan in your primary home, then you have to be 100 miles away for your second home. And if it's a conventional loan, you it has to make sense. So someone I was talking to lives in Parker, and I'm like, you could get a downtown condo, right? Because that could make sense as a second home if you need that downtown crash pad, because no one works downtown anymore, but it's coming back. If you're doing it as a second home, you cannot count the appraised rental rate towards the loan applicant's debt to income ratio. And so that's an important thing to take into account. You have to bring 25% down for the investor loan, but you get to count the appraised rental rate, 75% of it, to your debt to income ratio. So that's like, well, why would I use which, you know? So when we're buying our second home, it's in Silverthorne, it's plenty enough reason to say it's a second home. But I'm like, do we want to put enough down that we can make it make sense as a second home financially? Or do we want it to be an investor loan, or do we want to, right? And so there's benefits to both. Investor rates, and Mo, you probably know better than me, you're like where they're at right now. They've gone up quite a bit, right?
Oh, they all have.
Yeah. Everything's up, but the gap between investor and primary isn't as big as it used to be.
No, it's not as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's actually, the conventional loan rate has gone close to what the
Yeah.
investor rate is. It's close enough that It makes sense that you could even do bank statement loans and stuff like that right now. It's
Yes.
Pretty much the same interest rate as a regular convention.
Yeah. Yeah. Bank statement loans. Makes me nervous. I don't when we talk about things like that. I know, no, for sure. So that's that piece of it. And then anything you're going to go over 4 units, you're going to need a commercial loan, and it's just a whole different ball game. And so that is where I refer, right? So I'm like, I'm going to say, talk to a lender. We can help you find potential properties, but ultimately I'm working more in the space where we're 4 units or under. Anything above that's just a totally different ball game. And so you would want an expert in it. Oh yeah. It needed updated. Most of all, you need your team. You're obviously going to be the one who shines the most. Right? Snoop's going to be your financial advisor. He's making good decisions, hanging out with Martha. He's got some insider scoop. Your local agent's going to lead the team, right? And then you need your lender, an insurance agent, and a property manager. So if you're out of state, I definitely advise having a property manager. As you acquire properties, it's important, I mean, that you have really good insurance for all of your properties, but also for you as a human and a family, right? So you need to get umbrella loans. So really having an insurance agent you trust for your global insurance, as well as specific to each property. And then of course, the local agent's going to help. And I say local, right? If you're looking in Denver, you've got a team here, but if you're looking in Fort Wayne, then we would have you Dr. Brad Knoll, right? So like we kind of have people all over the country that are going to help you with that. And then they're going to be your local advisor with insurance and property management and all that jazz. Same with, honestly, and we've talked about this a little bit because you lived in Summit for so long, but like I won't leave our MLS because I don't feel like I have enough knowledge, right? So it's like, I think that the clients obviously need the level of competency, and there's some areas in Colorado I get excited about, but we have partners in those areas too. Trinidad, we're looking at you. Okay. Who wants a break from me talking and wants to take the what kind of real estate investor quiz are you going to be? Pull out your phones, do the QR code, and then it's quick. It's like 2 minutes. Oh.
I did mine before. And I got
I
it.
think you can go ahead and do yours.
It looks so good. Oh, wait. I'm just a ram rabbit.
Fair enough.
Good. Yes. Yeah. Get food. I was just saying no one's eating. Get it, girl. The results are fun. I mean, obviously I wrote it, so I think it's amazing. Yeah. I tried to make it fun. I haven't really promoted it much recently, so I was like, oh, we gotta get this back out there. Huh?
Dinner.
Right? No, yeah.
Sorry, Mike, you're on your own tonight.
Right? Or bring him a plate. You just bring a bowl of like cheese and crackers home. You're like, I made dinner. You're welcome. It is.
I love it.
It's the best, yeah. Have you taken it before? Yeah. Here's my phone. Go get it.
All right. So that email, so- Yep,
Do you get your answer?
I think that's my answer.
What is
I'm an
it?
outgoing goal setter.
Yes.
I'm an enthusiastic team player.
You're an ambitious goal setter, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are you?
I'm an enthusiastic team player.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I'm Beyonce.
You're Beyonce?
Is that what it
I
says?
knew it.
We knew it.
Is that not?
Ambitious goal setter.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that's good.
Oh, wow.
You sound disappointed.
No, there's no bad answers.
Like ambition is bad or something.
It's no.
I'm
There's
just
no.
joking.
There's the go-getter, there's the goal setter, team player, and then the investigator. Get it?
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. I told you guys, I wrote it. I think I'm very smart or funny.
Maybe a combo. Huh?
Maybe. Depends.
Did you take the quiz?
I did.
These are totally like Lunchables,
Mhm.
but way better.
For adults.
Totally. Okay. Christy, you're still working on yours? Okay. No, you're good. What'd you get?
Sure, no.
Dang.
By the time I go,
Yeah,
you already know.
Go there.
I do already know that.
Yeah.
He's a,
Joy, sure, got investigator.
yes, that totally makes sense. Love it. I'm a team player
Okay, I see that.
is what I answered as. I also wrote it. So I feel like it's kind of like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
so-
Can you take your own quiz?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the company that does it, whatever you guys thought, Interact, I think it's called, like they help kind of guide you with, like, I tailored it from another quiz, but I wrote it. But I think, yeah, my big thing, yeah, there's a quote that's like very much makes me a team player with the, yeah. All right, I'm gonna get going because Christy's gonna be done soon. So how to get started, you have to find out what kind of investor you are, which was why we took that personality quiz. Like it's a quick, right? It's a quick synopsis. It's a quick answer. I think personality tests are fun. Maybe someday we'll put it on Pinterest. And then I'm going to ask people, where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, 20 years, when you want to retire? Obviously, how hands-on do you want to be? And then when you think about appreciation versus cash flow, we know you want both, but which one's the bigger priority? And then we're going to look at the long-term versus short-term rentals. And there's a lot of interesting options with that in between too. So short-term in Denver is considered anything less than 30 days. Long-term, I consider 12 months. And so you only need a short-term rental license in Denver if it's under 30 days. So you can do month-to-month rentals. And so people are seeing a really big boom in that with like corporate housing, as people can go travel and work from wherever, or just need temporary housing of some sort. We're seeing it with new build delays, right? A place for people to live for a shortened period of time. So if you are a determined go-getter, which we know you are, Major, you have drive and ambition. You make crushing goals look easy until you don't, right? Until you get tired. You're an excellent problem solver. You will do whatever it takes. So that is kind of going to be an opportunity, is to focus on collaboration, listening more and better, and then letting loose of some of your control issues. I think also though, this is like putting somebody into a silo. There's parts of us there. I see parts of me in each of these, you know what I mean? So, but you have amazing ideas. You can think really globally. And so that's going to be a strength. So what that investment path may be best for a determined go-getter is to buy a multifamily live-in one. We're going to upgrade our primary. I'm going to get my vacation home. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to actually just knock out 10 units. I'm going to hustle hard. Hustle has such a weird connotation these days. I'm going to, yeah, like grind it out basically and get these investments in place. And then I'm good, right? Check it off. Ambitious goal setter. There's so much enthusiasm. You're outgoing and charismatic and a serious inspiration to everyone you meet. So you are a dreamer, you dream big, all the vision boards. So where your opportunities are going to be is taking the steps, right? So you have your dreams and you have your goals, but you're not going to always figure out what steps you're going to have to take to get there. And so it's going to take you from going from these big dreams. Oh my gosh, you too. It's like therapy tonight. Look at you. Both of you are like, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, you just need someone to balance you. What did you get?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Team player. So it's one step at a time and thinking about it that way. I think when you start thinking of these huge goals, it can cause paralysis, right? And so then you're dreaming big, but you never take the first step. And so then you're not fulfilling them. So that's what the ambitious goal setter, it's kind of a dual-edged sword, but they all sound really nice, you know? So that person might buy their home here, rent out some rooms, or maybe rent it out when they travel, do some short-term rentals across the country because they want to take advantage of that beach life. Like they're kind of doing that deal. So yeah, but the big thing is going to be one step at a time. Enthusiastic team player, great listeners, compassionate, and really good at helping people see the options that they have. You seek to empower others. We'll get to my quote, which has become my song. But the opportunities is you don't take care of yourself. Syndrome is misspelled. Imposter syndrome or syndrome. Don't try to take on too much and you can become a little codependent. So you can only be happy if everyone you're helping is also happy, which can be really debilitating. She's like, now it's your turn, which can be really debilitating when you're helping someone because you need to not be that person. You need to be the one who's helping them make their decisions. So that person is going to put some goals in place, right? So maybe they're going to, this is me. So I built it for like what I would want, right? So it's like you get a little bit of the feel with the like vacation homes, right? So there's like the aesthetic pragmatic from that, like it's a good investment, but it's also family memories that they get you into when you go to the timeshare pitches in Breck. And then you also buy the vacation home, right? But then you're going to get what you need and you're going to take the steps to do it. And then you're going to want to work with others to empower them to do the same. And maybe you're investing with a group after that point and doing some conscious development, which Major and I've talked about a ton. The Live, Laugh, Invest, obviously I had to put Live, Laugh in there. Investigator. Oh man, you could really, I don't think Amanda is on this call, but Amanda Campbell is like the queen. She's one of our agents and she's a really great agent and she's great to work with investing. She's incredible for her clients, but when it comes to her making her own decisions, she gets so deep in the details that she like really struggles with recommendations for herself, right? Because she needs to see it black and white, exactly what you need to do. And the truth is, no matter what you put things into, you can't project. You just don't know. I mean, we're in a 17-year pandemic at this point. Like no one could have projected that was going to happen, right? Actually, I think that they did and we didn't know. That's a whole nother thing, right? Like, wasn't there a lot of talk about how this would probably happen? Anyways, regardless, you can't project. So really it's all about trying to make the decision that's best for you right now, given what you know, and knowing that the longevity with real estate investing is going to be the payoff. We were talking today about an agent who helps some clients buy a house to flip. And I'm like, I wouldn't flip in this market. I wouldn't even think of it. There's so much unpredictability with supply chain, labor, all the things. But if I'll buy any property and hold on to it. I mean, I'm pretty hard pressed to get, once I decide on a property, I'm like structural, great. We'll deal with that. That's not that big of a deal. You know, roof, fine. We can fix that. I want the piece of land. I want, it makes sense. It pencils. So the investigator can talk themselves out of anything. So being careful with that, knowing your rules is going to give you like, okay, it qualifies, it fits. I know objectively speaking, it fits my rules. But you're also the expert. So like one of your biggest strengths is that people know you do the research and the data. Like I have Amanda run numbers for me on properties all the time because I want to know what she has to say about it. Right. And you don't know all the answers, but you know exactly where to find them. So that person is going to like be real strategic. Buy the first place as a triplex, then leverage it to buy another investment property, finally going to upgrade and like live in a nicer primary home. Meanwhile, at using the equity from all of this to buy these additional properties. So it's going to be really strategic and they're never going to follow their heart with investing, which is what I do. it's been fine because I was investing in Denver, but I know better now that you can't just buy the houses you like. But also when you're leapfrogging, which is what we were doing, we were just buying the house, living in it, keeping it as a rental, buy the house. You are buying the house that you like. And then people usually like it too, right? Taking a more data centric approach has been really fun for us to like evaluate it that way. Oh, see, this is why I'm a team player. We measure success by how many people are successful next to you. Does anyone else love this song? It's from the Carter's album. I know, like, I guess I'm the only one who listens to it on repeat. But I really see that with real estate investing is like, who can we take with us on the journey? Right. And that's why we do these classes. And then obviously the original slides had all the Beyonce memes or GIFs. So you're welcome. The power's not given to you. You have to take it. All the Beyonce quotes, right? When in doubt, channel her for all the reasons. But ultimately, we all have access to the same information. We don't have access to the same financial backing, right? So how do we help make sure that we all are getting the same information and helping you guys leverage it, right? To do what you can to create long-term wealth and positive impacts for yourself and your community. And in conclusion, it's Q&A. I did it. What questions do you have, ma'am?
I don't have questions. I just think the intimidation factor, it's like, that's what they want you to think. That's what, especially working with younger people that maybe I work with, they're like, I can't buy a house.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's like for grownups. It's like,
You're a grown-up. You are actually a grown-up.
and they want you to think it's difficult and have the same people, building the wealth and staying in the same percentages.
Yeah.
It is available. So giving this information out equitably is exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's the myth, right? You need 20% to put down. Someone's going to need to die for sure. Right. I mean, I've got to wait for an inheritance to put a down payment on a home.
Yeah.
Luckily, the down payment percentages have come down as the housing prices have gone up so much and as have the interest rates. So it really is, you're either paying to rent or you're paying to own. But I do think the knowledge is power and we're not sharing mentality around all things financial is absolutely by design.
Yeah.
And that's like, I'm like, if I can learn this, I mean, I'm a advertising major from University of Illinois, guys. Like, if I can do this, you can do this. And so I think that's,
I have a question.
Yes.
Like, what's your advice on like whether it's like cash flow or like building equity in a place? Because I feel like you kind of want both, but
Yeah, for
obviously,
sure.
but, like, how do you like determine that, I guess, or how do people?
Yeah. So the cool thing is if you can focus on appreciation first. So for me, it's really, where are you in life? Like, how long until you want to retire? And I hope your answer is not for a very long time, because I need you here. But 20 years, what are we doing? 20, 25, we're going to retire together. So anyways, so it's really, how long do you want to work? And then what are you earning? Because really cash flowing right now, that's why we want to depreciate, is to offset it and then take those earnings at a time in your life, one, when you need them, and two, when you're not at your higher earning potential. We, by intention, work with our accountants to make sure we're depreciating appropriately so that our properties are not cash flowing from a tax basis, right? And that's completely above board. That's exactly what the system was built to do, right? Now, the problem with depreciating is if you decide to sell it, you can have to recapture that if you don't use a 1031 exchange. So you would have to recapture that depreciation as income. And so again, you work with a 1031 exchange specialist, and you work with an accountant that's going to help you with those things, because that recapture is brutal, can be really brutal. And I can't tell you how many people have probably been told, oh, that's your only option, right? And that's so sad to me, because anyone who's working the system has never had to pay that. So I tend to think the younger you are, the more likely you're buying for appreciation, and you're very young, and we are very young. And then as you're getting older, you're kind of looking more at cash flow. So Alicia, who we had on, is only 40. not even yet. She'll be 40 in July, but her and her husband like really front loaded the kid thing. And so they're like looking at retirement in the next 5
Yeah, because
years.
they're doing it for cash flow.
So
right?
they're doing cash flow, right? Because their whole goal is to get him out of his salary job because the boys will already be in college. They've done their thing. And so it's not always age, but it's kind of like time of life.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
So over the last couple of years, I started doing pretty well for myself in my, just like my employment, my like day job.
Right.
And, my goal is always to get into investing, and obviously a lot of the investments to cash flow enough to eventually replace my employment income. So as of like right now, it's funny too, because like I probably, as a broker, was involved in why a lot of this is happening. But I priced myself out of a multifamily home in Denver, which was the plan to like for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, to get to the point that I'm in right now.
Yes.
Buy a multifamily
Yes.
home, a quadplex.
Yes.
And, every 2 years, we're in some
Yeah.
sell it, all that stuff, and we're
Yeah.
gonna buy two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like now I'm just like, okay, well, Denver's no longer an option for me in regards to cost, like, of the home. So I'm like now considering other states, right? I have
Yes.
connections in Washington, Arizona, and they're pretty up and coming, but they're not doing as like crazy as Denver is. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what is your advice in that kind of arena, like where you're talking about like managing properties for like very likely long-term rentals out of state?
Yeah, I mean, you leveraging a local, like a local real estate, find the right realtor
Right.
who's going to have the right connections and lender, right? I mean,
I can lend myself, so.
but you need someone local
Yeah,
with the connections.
right.
So for others that aren't going to lend for them, you know what I mean? Like they would find a local lender, a local realtor, and those should be the people that are going to provide them with the connections for property management, insurance, and everything. Are you raising your hand? You're the cutest thing.
So I have a question. So like looking at rural communities and things like that, like, what is like the best way to approach like, realtors out there, kind of like, they could be like the number one in that county or town or whatever the case may be, in a way that, they would probably accept you, because I found that to be something, the challenge that we're facing right now. And like, it's a problem already with the town that, this guy's like bought homes and property in already and has a stakeholder in there. Like, what kind of challenges we face in other areas? And like, that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to get around is like, do you need to hire somebody? Do you need to work with a certain group? Do you need
To get the land,
to just get
in. It's like any sales, right? You got to help them understand what their challenges are.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys have a housing shortage? Do you want us to help you fix it?
Yeah.
Do you want to be part of the solution? So I would take that like a very collaborative approach and say like, we're trying to help people do that.
Yeah.
Would that be a fit? And so I would take that approach.
Yeah.
And then that's when, I always tell the agents here, like when people ask you what you do not say you're a realtor. People will run. We've earned a reputation. Some of the others have earned for us, right? Same with mortgage broker, right? But you say, oh, I work in real estate. And then all of a sudden there's a lot of questions, right? So I think the same in going into a more rural community. I cannot say that word. I've had to say it 2 days in a row on camera. And I can't, and I'm from a rural area of Illinois and I can't do it. But going in and saying like, hey, you're the expert.
Yeah, humble yourself.
Yeah, like, do you guys have housing challenges? Where would you need help? Like, we want to be a part of the solution. We don't want to make the problem worse. So it's like going in to serve any community, right? I mean, I talk about it with Rotary all the time. It's like, can we stop telling people what they need and start asking them what they want and what they need, right? So I would take the same approach.
And other thing is, I feel like some people don't just want money, especially when they're on the top of their county or town. They just, like, what else could you do, to like approach them besides just asking in general, hey, what do you want? What are you looking for? Hey, you're 20 years into this, like, what I'm saying? Like, what can you really tell somebody like that through a question like that?
What do they want their legacy to be?
Yeah.
Right? What if part of what you guys do is at a park?
Yeah.
What if they,
Kids, grandkids.
totally. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah.
How do you want to impact, if you're passionate about that town, you've been there that long,
Yeah,
like they're gonna want something, like, let's put your name on something, maybe it's a park bench, like whatever, right?
yeah.
But I think that can be a piece of it, is to appeal to their, and if they're just an old crotchety asshole, like that's just what they're gonna be. But I don't know. I mean, I think when you ask people, like, what do you want people to remember about you?
Yeah,
Especially in those small communities, like that's where it's at.
yeah,
So I would consider those kinds of questions
okay,
and leave all cool shit at home.
yeah, yeah.
I know you always like to show off the cool shit. Leave it all at home.
Just know that I'm not the person who's been talking.
I believe that.
And like, I realized like, we've been waiting like 2 weeks and like, it should have took like a day. or two
Yeah.
max, so-
Yeah.
So.
No, for
I
sure.
gotta figure out the process.
Yeah. And I do think that's part of it, because people want to be a part of the idea, right?
Right. You don't want you to come in.
Mhm.
taking over.
Yeah. Back to what you were asking, Mo, do you guys own your house here?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have you're in.
Mhm.
That's the hardest thing, is getting your first piece
Right. I'm dying to get out personally, but my wife has sentimental value in the home.
in the home.
So I'm just like, okay, we could like, borrow up to 80% of the equity. Obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm just, man, we could have so much more to play with. If we sold the
Right.
house.
Well,
We're 2 blocks south of Colfax, so you kind of can imagine the challenges that
yeah,
I deal with, right? I grew up in the ghetto of New York City.
yeah,
That was like easy in comparison to dealing with like.
really.
Oh, yeah, it's like, it's one thing to deal with like thugs and gangsters, but it's a whole different story when you deal with methods.
Well, and it's so much
One
different
thing
mental
communicating,
health
one thing-
stuff. Right. There's the mental health barrier for sure.
So it's just like, and I want to like,
So
there's
he
not a lot of
prefers
work that I can do.
gangsters
Yeah.
to drug addicts, is apparently.
Completely different thing.
It is. I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
So, yeah, and it's like, we've done a lot of work in our community, but like, it's slow moving, right? And we have kids and we would like them to be in an area where like they can go out and play without worrying about like.
Yeah.
Getting snatched up for. $5 back or something.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that's real.
So, yeah, so the point is like, yeah, I want to like leverage what I have, you know what I mean? But now the question is like, how much can I leverage here? versus
Turn
how much
that
can I
one
leverage
into,
there?
this is what I had to do.
Mhm,
Turn that one into a rental,
mhm. I've thought about that too.
because then it's like you're still keeping it for the nostalgia. And then once you move out and you're into something better, they get over the nostalgia. Just telling you my secrets.
Fair enough. I'm glad I'm in my life.
What?
I'm glad everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But it is true. I mean, it's so, and I thought for sure, like, so I owned my condo, the first home that my then boyfriend, now husband, and I bought together. It was where we brought our son home. Like, it was where we lived when we got married. Right. So I get the sentimental, and I was for sure like, you are so like lame. Like I was like, ugh, like I was such a brat about it. Cause I'm like, we're getting a way better house, weirdo. Like, ugh, it's not my condo. My condo is like awesome. This place is like whatever. And we always knew it would be like a stepping stone home for us. I think that was part of it. But then the first day I went over there and it was empty, I bawled like a baby. So it's like, even like, it was like, oh shit, this was like, we put the sod in the front grass. So like he could put his feet, like the baby could put his feet in it.
Right.
And then he lived there for 2 more months. Thank God we sodded that. But anyways, and so even when I'm like, but then now that it's been some time, I'm like, that place served us so well. It's been so good for our journey,
Right.
and it's time. And he's come around on it too. So all jokes aside of like the emotions, like they're real and they're valid.
Right.
But then once you're in your new place, I like forget we even lived there, which is very bizarre.
Exactly.
But it's like how you forget about life before the kids.
Right. I
That's-
still think about
You do. I know.
it a lot. It's so much easier.
It feels like it was so long ago though. It's like,
I'm such a chauffeur now. It's like, it's just drive going around everywhere.
What would I do with this night if I didn't have this?
Seriously.
I know, right? You don't have to do that tonight,
Yeah,
right?
I don't want to drive. That's like super weird. I mean,
Wait, you have teens?
Yeah, I have teens, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, my son he's like 16, just got his driver's license, and I'm just like, all right, let's drive me to the store, and I'm trying to give him like time behind the wheel.
Yeah.
But he would not, like, I'm like, what kind of weird, like. situation
Yeah.
is
I don't
that?
wanna drive.
No,
these
like,
days.
and it's just like, no, they're comfortable, they're really.
how old are they?
I have, my youngest is 8, the oldest is 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
So
span.
between me and my wife, we have 6 together.
6 kids.
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, no wonder. Yeah, it's a lot of house you'd need.
yeah. I'd like a lot of house, you know,
You had to move to the suburbs.
move to the suburbs. Yeah, I'm considering it. I'd like
Yeah.
to. My wife just, transferred her like job into Cherry Creek, so now she's loving the commute.
Well, yeah, and you guys are east, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna go to high school.
Huh?
You're gonna go to high school.
Am I gonna go to high school?
No, you're in a good high school.
Oh, well, they're in George Washington. Which
Oh, they're at Dub, yeah, okay.
But it's pretty much like half remote anyway nowadays. It's just like.
I know, it's so weird.
It is a weird state.
It's a weird time.
But, based on the whole thing that I read online in regards to like what you guys are trying to accomplish. What I realize is like, yeah, this is gonna take a village type of thing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, it's really good when you have a network of people.
Yes.
That are doing the same things or going in the same direction.
Yeah.
Having similar experiences, but not
Yep.
exactly the same, so you can pick and choose
Yep.
like, what works for you.
Yeah,
So. and
No,
plus,
for
like,
sure.
The focus on diversity and
yeah,
women and.
yes.
being outside of the box, I'm
Yeah.
100% a supporter of that. So.
Jake,
thank you for-
You make me laugh. No, for sure. I think too, like when we think about, so like everyone loves a brick quad, right? Like that's what I wanted, was like a brick side by side quad that was built in the 50s, right? I mean, post-war housing, 800 square, like great. We bought in Denver. I went back and forth on if I wanted to buy in Denver because now Denver's requiring licenses for long-term rentals, right? Which I get that. I'm fine with them requiring licenses. I'm not super into the requirement around inspections, the like third-party inspections, because I'm just waiting to see which fucking city council member opens their inspection company, because that tends to be the case with
Yep.
Denver politics. Major's not going to engage on this.
Huh?
Denver
Talking
politics.
about, Yeah.
When there's a new law enacted, usually there's a business behind it.
Yes.
There's like a senator.
Yeah.
It's such a coincidence.
It's such a coinky dink. Yeah. And it's like, who's doing the parks? And you can like trace it back to like family. Anyways, feels very Chicago. I mean, right? Like that's so Chicago.
So New York as well.
Is it New York? Yeah.
Like with the Italian politics.
Yeah.
Like it went from mafias to.
Right.
Politics.
Right,
and then
to
construction
Cuomo's.
companies, highways under construction 30 years.
Yeah.
nothing was happening, but.
I know.
being boarded.
It's so dirty, isn't it? Yeah.
Giuliani had a lot of play in that.
Yeah.
But we
But
don't
you
know,
know,
we can see that you
I know. It was how he handled 9/11. He became everyone's person, right? So anyways, but when I think about like areas I go in, I mean, I'm Aurora all day long. I think Aurora as a city does incredible things. I think they're thinking better and broader long-term with use and infrastructure. They are backed really well. Like when you think of like where the Aurora Denver border is, so North Aurora is my preferred area, like in the arts district. And so in the hospital, right? You can still get some like triplexes and
I was looking in that area.
quads. I would go, I would look there. And then,
Never been to the hospitals, like, the staff, children's hospitals.
yeah,
out there?
access to the hospitals, you can do
That's what I was
monthly
considering.
rentals, you can do, and kind of, that's the cool thing with if you do short-term rentals, I actually don't know what their county rules are on it, because they're not Denver. If you can do
I think
nightlies.
it's Aurora, but
It's
I don't know,
Aurora.
Isn't Aurora like the Wild West when it comes to? short-term-
I
short-term
mean, it's not
rentals down there?
Montana. I was just up in Montana. That is the craziest shit up there. They are doing like new builds and no one signs off on finishes.
Huh.
And so then they're like, no, you said this, you said that. It's hilarious. I'm like, you guys just like handshake? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what? Anyways. So I don't know, because Aurora's Arapahoe County,
It could just depend on
parts of
the
it.
part
Yeah.
of
It is kind of the Wild West, right? Anyways, so I think you'd have options there. Definitely traveling nurses is like a huge opportunity. Yeah. So I think getting, thinking kind of long-term in that, and then going off market is the key. And I think there are a lot more trades happening now. So there's some social groups like, I'm on Facebook, but, Mile High Landlords and stuff like that, where like, that's how I found ours.
Gotcha.
And you could tell this, you want people to have a story. And I heard immediately from an agent, it's like, I want to upgrade from my 4 to a 12. I was like, okay, let's do it. So it made it really easy because it was just like agent to agent and investor to investor. It's kind of interesting. I was like, Dad, can you look at this structural report? He's a structural engineer in Illinois.
That's nice.
And he's like, it's fine. I was like, that's what I thought. It's like, it's been standing for just 70 years. It's fine. All the cracks. Psh. No, you can access the whole crawl space. I'm used to buying homes that were built in 1890s. Feels new. So anyways, there's options out there still. Let's get a little more detailed on like what kind of access we can get, like cash access you can get, and then how you could leverage it
Mhm.
if you don't move.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
Sounds good to me.
We'll let the people on the video go. Right?
Mhm.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. We'll send follow-up out tomorrow, including the conversation we had with Alicia. We're doing the how to buy a house class next week. It's not even called that anymore. It's called home ownership, not if, but when and how. We added how, which is exciting. Okay. Doing a little rebrand. I don't know if Beyonce is going to make it, but probably. I got to learn how to do that. I've got the hair.
Yeah.
I'll do that later. Okay. But yeah, so we'll see you next week. And then next month, we're talking to Lucas, who's my landscaper who bought 5 investment properties with a partner last year, including 3 in Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great cash flow, right? Not the same appreciation, great cash flow. So to your question, it can be good sometimes to have a little bit of both. Yeah. I think he might sell them though. I don't know. All right. Bye guys.